I believe wholeheartedly that Avowed was doomed from the start. Usually when a game comes out, there's a general consensus on whether or not it's good. That's excluding the naysayers that there always will be with every game that comes out ever, no matter what. But if you're talking about general public reception, it's usually pretty straightforward on whether or not it's good. That has not been the case with Avowed, and I think it's because it was set up for failure from the beginning. While I explain my theory throughout the video, I will be going over some minor spoilers, so this is your warning, I guess. Avowed was first announced in July of 2020. You can see the teaser trailer on screen right now, and although it doesn't give much, it's hella short and it doesn't even begin to show off gameplay. It already, on its own, set up so many expectations because of this. When you see this shot, what's the first thing that comes to mind? The right answer, the only answer, is Skyrim. Elder Scrolls, medieval fantasy RPG, magic in one hand and steel blade in the other. This game was teased as a modern day Skyrim. You don't even have to take it from me. Here is a direct quote from the Obsidian CEO during an interview with PC Gamer. Originally, we were pitching, in essence, our Skyrim. I think over the course of time that we worked on it, blah blah blah, Bethesda makes an awesome Skyrim, Mojang makes awesome Minecraft, and Turn 10 makes awesome racing games. What we do is make our awesome RPGs. What I personally got from this quote is that they birthed the idea of a modern day Skyrim to get some hullabaloogie behind it, to maybe get some funding, whatever it is. Whatever the reason to push the Skyrim idea was, they pushed it first, and then it changed over time to be what it is today. They made it unique to how they wanted the game to come out, essentially to fit better in Obsidian's formula, which is fine. It's actually great. You want to make your games unique, but again, those expectations were already set. You set yourself up for disappointment when you don't meet them. Avowed doesn't have any of the key aspects to it that people who enjoyed Skyrim would expect in a game. For example, the ability to kill any NPC, to include your own companions. Fuck you, Lydia. The ability to pickpocket or commit really any crime whatsoever. It doesn't allow you to gain XP by performing the skill that you want to eventually master. You can't change companions' gear or really interact with them outside of conversations. There's no fucking dragons. Kidding about that. It doesn't have to have dragons, but I think I pretty much hit on all the big ones here. Oh, stop comparing it to Skyrim. Just because it has magic and it's in first person doesn't mean that it has to be a Skyrim copy. I don't disagree with that. I actually agree with that 100%. But it's not just the one teaser trailer or the one quote from the CEO. The expectation of a modern day Bethesda-like RPG comes from the fact that the devs who worked on this game also worked on Fallout New Vegas, considered by many to be one of the best Fallout in the series. And of course, Fallout equals Bethesda, which equals Skyrim. Maybe this is like dumb gamer math that I'm going through. Obsidian tells you that they were the writers behind Fallout New Vegas every chance that they get. They shout that shit from the rooftops, and it's for good reason. When you have a beefy resume behind you, behind your work, you want that to be the headliner for your new work, for your new piece of art. The problem wasn't the fact that the expectations were high, but that they were so specific to the type of mechanics people wanted to see in this game that again, it set itself up for disappointment when those mechanics were not there. I want to follow that up by saying comparisons aren't inherently a bad thing. When I try a new game out, I often find myself reminiscing over things that remind me of other games all the time. Inspirations for mechanics, worlds, stories, etc. are always going to be present, but in the case of Avowed and Skyrim, setting the expectations for a modernized Skyrim was shooting itself in the foot because the game wasn't even close to being that. All the good things that Avowed brought to the table were bound to be overshadowed by all that was quote-unquote missing, if that makes sense. The role-playing genre was popularized in the 70s to early 90s with classic TTRPGs like Final Fantasy, War Game, and Dungeons and Dragons taking the lead. There's a bunch of nerds getting stuffed in lockers back in the day. I feel like there was always a natural fit in video games for RPGs because both provided a immersive and diverse world to kind of lose yourself. Escapes from reality, a better way to put it. With that being said, the RPG genre has become one of the leading genres in modern day video games, making it an extremely saturated market. So what did that mean for Avowed? Well, to put it simply, it was cooked. We already talked about expectations and comparisons. Couple that with the need to make itself stand out without feeling like another generic game, and you got yourself a recipe for a whole lot of yikes, dog. It was in the pressure cooker, and it had to come out perfect, basically. And this goes for any up-and-coming RPG. If you look at the new Fable that's coming out, not only is it competing with other titles in the genre, but it's also competing with its predecessors. It has got some big shoes to fill. Competition in the market is a double-edged sword. On one hand, innovations are pushed, stories are created, and mechanics improve over time because games continue to push limits in order to stand out. On the other hand, I have to pose this question, just to be the devil's advocate here. As consumers, could our standards have reached unrealistic expectations, so much so that many are shitting on a perfectly good game? I don't know, that's really subjective. I'm almost inclined to say that I'm on the criticism side of things more, because from these high expectations, we've gotten some pretty incredible games. Look at Baldur's Gate 3, it's setting a very high bar to reach for other RPGs. But going into this game specifically, Avowed, after hearing a lot of the reviews, I was expecting it to be absolute dog shit, and I was completely wrong.
You're wrong. Here's why. To start, you're completely missing the point, and everything you think is actually at odds with reality when you look at the data. In fact, you're nowhere close to being accurate.
I scoured the internet for a couple hours and watched a ton of reviews, saw what people had to say about the game, and compiled a shit list for Avowed. Here are the top 5 biggest complaints that I saw for this game. Number 5, choices don't affect the game. This is simply not true. When I went into Paradis, I pissed off Thrall almost immediately, which prompted him and his buddies to attack me any chance they got, where otherwise they would have left me alone. A lot of choices you make will affect the world in big scale, but won't affect you directly, which is why they may feel as if they're just empty dialogue. For example, early in game when you encounter your personal assassin man, the guy that tries to kill you, if you kill him, the rebels, their faction, are left without a leader and scatter throughout the land, struggling to survive. You'll encounter a couple rebels here and there that are pissed off or they hate you because you killed the leader, etc, etc. If you spare him, they live in the wild in hiding until you free the lands at the end of the game, and then they go back to la-di-da, living in the Paradis as if nothing ever happened. If you snitch to the steel carrots and turn him in, Wolfboy dies in custody and the rebels lose their will to fight, meaning you won't see any of them anymore throughout your journey. So basically, you can make these choices and then never notice the effect they have if you don't pay attention to the world around you. The choices do affect the game and your interaction with many characters, but the consequences may be a little too uneventful, and that's why people are saying that, you know, they don't matter. I do wish I was able to piss off my companions so bad that they walk off and never come back, or maybe try to kill me, because the way they cussed me out at times made me think it may happen, but it never did. Number 4, it's boring. This one is subjective, but I get it. I believe the long-winded dialogue is the main culprit for this sentiment. Instead of putting in cutscenes to progress any part of the story, the game solely relies on talking to different NPCs whenever you enter a new area to quote-unquote summarize what has happened so far, as each companion gives you their thoughts and opinions as to what you should do next. This was welcome at first because it was almost like a cutscene, but I get to control the pace of the cutscene and what happens. But so many times I found myself feeling like, damn, that was a 10-minute conversation that could have been 2 minutes long. Why say many word when few word do trick? Everyone will have their own reasons as to why they may or may not find this game boring, but at the end of the day, there were many moments throughout the game, throughout the writing, that I thought were very worth experiencing. Even if I did skip through a lot of dialogue towards the end there. Being able to flip someone off as a dialogue choice, being able to say really rude things that made the characters react outrageously towards me, reading funny notes scattered throughout the world that told mini stories of what happened in the area, those moments were the ones that made me genuinely enjoy making my way through the story and through the world. Read this very carefully. If your name is not Ranger Vincenzo, then do not eat the rations marked Ranger Vincenzo. Open the fuck up. Hello? Confession? What? I confess that I used the skull of form of the helpless beast to turn myself into a pig. I confess that I accidentally followed a guard into the council chamber. I confess that when the spell wore off, my clothes were gone. Furthermore, I confess that being a pig was the second greatest experience of my life, and I confess that I'm not sorry. Did you know this is the most cramped prison I've ever stayed in? Thankfully, I won't be here long. If I'm guilty of anything, it's that I'm criminally underappreciated as an escape artist. Your pal? Tane, I love this fucking... That's so funny. That's so good. World exploration is what saved this game from being boring for me personally. From hilarious traps to jumping puzzles to random world encounters of random people doing weird things, there was a lot of life in a game that many claim to be lifeless. This made the side quests outshine the main quests a bit, which I personally think was a miss on the part of the devs, and it could have been the reason why many didn't give the game a chance and wrote it off as just being boring. Number 3. It's ugly. This one is subjective as well, but it's wrong. This game is beautiful. Just close your eyes whenever you talk to NPCs, because them's as ugly as fuck. But the world, the aesthetics, the caves, the landscapes, the openings to these left me going, damn, I need to make this my desktop background. There's this general hate wave going around for the cartoonish animated art style that has been popularized recently. And again, I think this is more of a personal preference thing. Overall, this game nails the fantasy aesthetic and will age well due to its art style. There are countless games that aged like a carton of spoiled milk because they tried to do the whole realism thing, while others that kept their simplistic cartoon looks still look good to this day. I do see the validity to this argument when you look at The Witcher 3, which released in 2015. But first of all, The Witcher was ahead of its time in every way possible. But also, when I've seen comparisons from this game to The Witcher, many people use ugly ass screenshots in Avowed and exclude ones like these. I could also take an ugly ass picture in The Witcher and compare it to any other game and say it looks like ass, but I won't because I love The Witcher. It's literally perfect. You shut the fuck up about that. I think I've made my point. Number 2, there's no crime system. This is a pretty big one. No killing, no stealing, no crimes, no guards, no punishments, no consequences. Being a good person is for the real world, all right? It's for the chumps over here in IRL land. I want to be a murderous, ravaging thief in my games, okay? So I don't really have a counter argument for this one. I don't know why they didn't include a crime scene. Kill everyone on sight? I tried, dude. I literally tried. That's the first thing I tried. It won't let me kill any of the NPCs. It's very saddening. And the number 1 criticism for this game is that the NPCs don't move. This is such a pointless thing to be mad about. Yes, I hate that NPCs are stationary. I would much rather them walk in circles and do random shit that no one cares about, because following an NPC around usually proves to be super exciting. I'm being sarcastic.
How are you?
Been better. How about you?
Not bad.
Good to hear. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
I know what the point of this critique is. It's that even if you're running through an area, seeing NPCs that at least mimic some sort of lifelike movements creates more of an immersive world. I completely understand that. My counter argument to this, though, is that I didn't even notice this thing until somebody pointed it out to me. I feel like 90% of the people wouldn't have noticed this had it not been pointed out to them either. But hey, I might be wrong too. I don't know. Tell me in the comments. Critiques aside, this game is fun. It's a simple, straightforward RPG with engaging combat, unique weapons, explorable environments with rewarding loot, a story that has both good and bad elements to it, but overall doesn't ruin the experience as a whole if you enjoy it for the rest of the mechanics. Its biggest downfall is the price. This is where it all comes together. $70 coupled with unrealistic expectations and comparisons, coupled with the competitive landscape, and Avowed was destined to fail in the eyes of the reviewers, but then it did the unexpected. On paper, this game did not fail. Obsidian released Outer Worlds, which was their previous RPG title, and it hit an all-time peak player base of 20,000 players on Steam, while Avowed is right on its tail at 19,000 players, but of course, that's not including the numbers that we get to see on Game Pass. According to this article, Avowed boasts a 5.9 million player count in the first month, which surpassed Indiana Jones by 1.5 million. Those numbers are insane and cannot objectively be looked at and seen as a failure. Here's a quote taken from the studio's forum made by a senior community manager. "Our team is committed to ongoing support, and we're always looking for ways to improve. Your input is key to help us refine and expand Avowed. We are excited to keep rolling out updates. Within the next few weeks, we're going to be releasing a roadmap that will go over some of the plans that we have that will be coming to the game over the upcoming year. So keep your eyes peeled." A roadmap for a single player game screams DLC. And so there you have it. A game destined to fail, saved by Xbox Game Pass. Guys, this is a smaller channel where we post all things latest games related. If you enjoyed what you saw here, don't forget to leave a like for the algorithm gods and leave a subscribe down below. Leave a subscribe. That doesn't even make sense. Whatever. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.